everyone take a deep breath. Really, just, and you got your masks on, so you can even breathe out. Too soon, maybe? Shabbat Shalom, everybody. So glad that we are here for so many reasons, but most poignantly to celebrate with Clementine, who's worked so hard to be able to stand up here in front of this congregation, her family and friends and members of our community who've watched with wonder and amazement as she's grown into this incredible young person. As always, you know, there's a lot weighing, there's a lot on our souls and on our minds. Certainly, we are all praying for peace in Ukraine, thinking about the loss and the violence and the aggression, and praying for a quick, speedy end so that all people, but especially the children, can be safe again. In our community, we are all mourning the loss of Renee Deal of blessed memory, who would sit right there and ask really great questions during the time when we are learning Torah. So Clementine, as you teach Torah, I'll also be thinking about Renee. It's also a named Shabbat. It's not only the name of the Shabbat isn't only Clementine Huck's Bat Mitzvah Shabbat, which is one of its names here. It's also Shabbat Parah, which I don't want to get into the weeds of what that means, but what it really means is Passover's coming. For those of us who celebrate Passover, there's a lot of preparation to Passover, so we get a lot of advance warning. And so I guess I'm giving all of you warning. Passover is coming, so all of that to say that I hope that we use these moments of song and prayer and learning and sharing to deepen our souls, to allow the love in our heart to increase, and the hope of spring and this time of year, let it be part of who we are going forward. What do you think about all that, Clementine? Yeah, I agree. So Clementine and her family have put together a wonderful siddur that you can see, this prayer book that will help guide us through the service as Clementine leads us in prayer and teaches us Torah. And we begin on page 2, although I don't want you to ignore the cover. So, you know, when you have time, take a look at this cover, beautifully drawn by Clementine herself. Lots of meaning and values that are just sort of etched into this incredible piece of artwork that now is yours as well. But inside, on page 2, we start all services in the morning with this prayer of gratitude, of thanksgiving, so that despite everything else, we can begin the day counting our blessings. And of course, one of the blessings for me, and I know for Clementine, is that all of you are here. So let's sing Modeh Moda Ani. Simply, I am thankful for all of the blessings that are part of our lives right here and right now.
Rabbi Munite
as you start to lead the service, we want you to feel the arms of the tradition wrapped around you. And one of the ways we do that is by wearing the talit, the garment with the fringes that remind us of all the mitzvahs that should be part of our lives. And you will be wearing a talit. And I know it's a gift from your Aunt Jenny. Where's Aunt Jenny? There, oh, look at that. She raised her hand. That was so nice. So your Aunt Jenny is going to come up and present you with your talis. Oh, you made it.
Oh, yeah.
Do you want to tell us a little bit about it?
I will tell you about it because
Please.
it's all in the meaning, not in the way it looks. So,
Okay.
So I wanted to use one of my father's old ties, since he can't be here, but he is with us in spirit always. And I knew that she was wearing this dress, so I found a tie that tied it all in. So this maroon flowered fabric on the four corners is one of my dad's ties. Then I printed her the hands from the cover of the Siddur onto fabric, and that is for the Atara. And then this fabric down here, and there was some of this on Delilah's talis as well, was from my grandmother's father's milliner's shop. So there's a lot of history here.
Oh.
Mazel tov.
Thank you.
Flip her hair.
I love you.
Stay right here, Aunt Jenny.
Oh, okay.
I'm gonna flip her hair out there.
Oh, yeah, okay.
I only learned that in 20 years of being a rabbi.
Well, if you don't have girls, you wouldn't know.
But I do.
Oh, okay. You weren't paying attention.
So, I think we just need a second to take all that in.
Yeah.
Truly. Just astounding and meaningful and lovely. So thank you for that gift. And that is not only Clementine's gift, but also, all of our gifts. And so Clementine, with that talit, with all of that meaning and all of those people that it represents, please say the blessing for the mitzvah of wearing the talit.
Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, asher kiddushanu b'mitzvotav, v'tzivanu lehit atef bat tzitzit.
Tzitzit.
Give her a
Absolutely.
blessing.
These are the tzitzit.
Those are the tzitzit.
Yep.
That is correct. So the next group of prayers on page 3 both have the word tov or tovu. It's the same word. It means good. And I think it's good with a capital G. Those moments in life that really are good and holy and significant. And so we'll sing those prayers. Ma tovu is also a prayer of welcome and inclusion and embrace. So I want to make sure that we recognize that it's not only us that are here participating in the service, but also if you look at that camera above the exit sign that represents all the people who are streaming, including your grandparents in Potosi and your dad and stepmom who weren't feeling well and are staying at home to be part of your bat mitzvah. For all of you that are here, of course, all the U-Cityans. I know there's a big U-City contingent here for Clementine. For all of us, how blessed we are to be part of these good tov moments in life.
גם יחד. הנה מה טוב, הנה מה טוב. יאללה ליי, לה 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 לה. הנה מה טוב, הנה מה טוב. יאללה ליי, לה 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 לה. הנה מה טוב ומה נעים, שבת אחים גם יחד. הנה מה טוב ומה נעים, שבת אחים גם יחד.
Please chant together. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, she'asani b'tzalmo. Blessed are you, the eternal our God, who has created me in your image. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, she'asani bat horim. Blessed are you, the eternal our God, who has made me free. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, she'asani Yisrael. Blessed are you, the eternal our God, who has made me Yisrael. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, pokeach ivrim. Blessed are you, the eternal our God, who opens the eyes of the blind. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, malbish arumim. Blessed are you, the eternal our God, who provides clothes for the needy. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, hanoten le'ya'ef koach. Blessed are you, the eternal our God, who gives strength to the weak. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher hechid mitzvah b'gaver. Blessed are you, the eternal our God, who guides the steps of human beings.
Amen. So if you look on page 5, there's a series of psalms traditionally part of the morning service. And for many years before the pandemic, we used this as a time where we could actually do some dancing together and kind of pray with our whole selves. We're still sort of easing back to after being closed for a year and a half, as so many places did for public health. And so I think what we're going to do, I haven't told Clementine this yet, I think what we'll do is I do want to have this moment, because it's supposed to be another moment that kind of fills us with joy and purpose, is that I'm going to have, this is Andrew and Leslie over here, and they're going to sing the last psalm, which is actually the last psalm in the Bible, Psalm 150, great melody that comes from Sufi Islam, this melody, and then adapted for Jewish worship. And let people, if you want, to stand right where you are. You can clap your hands, you can stomp your feet, you can, whatever it is that you're moved to do, but we'll have some sort of moments of what we call ecstatic worship, but kind of non-dancing ecstatic worship. We'll get there, and we'll be clapping up here, and this is Psalm 150 of this series of psalms that are supposed to be verses of praise. So hit it.
כולן שמע תהליה, הללויה. הללויה, הללויה, הללויה,
Hallelujah. I was about to get the drum, but I guess I was a little late on that one. So there, thank you. We got the drum. Continuing with Clementine leading us on page 6.
Yitgadal v'yitgadash shemei Rabba be'oma divrach hirute be'amlich malhute b'chayechon uvyomechon uv'chayet kol beit Yisrael ba'agala uvizman kariv v'imru amen. Yehei Shemei Rabba mevorach le'olam maya yitbarach v'yitzabach v'yitpa'ar v'yitromam v'yitnaseh v'yitadar v'yitale v'yitalal Shemei Dekudesha b'richu le'olam mikol bechata v'shirata tushbechata v'nehemata damiram be'oma v'imru amen. Shema Yis. Oh, sorry.
Always a good time to sing the Shema. Always. And it's supposed to be in our hearts.
Yes.
And so it is. But this.
Nothing is absolute. Everything changes, everything moves, everything revolves, everything flies and goes away. Please rise as we call each other to prayer with the Baruch Hu.
Ya la 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 la. Ya la 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 la. Ya la 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 la. Ya la 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 la. Ya la 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 la. Baruch Hu et Adonai, Hamevorach, Baruch Adonai, Hamevorach. Mevorach le'olam va'ed. Hamevorach, Hamevorach le'olam va'ed.
There is always light, if only we're brave enough to see it, if only we're brave enough to be it. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam yotzer or u'varei chosha oseh shalom u'varei et hakol me'ir la'aretz v'ladarim aleha berachamim u'tuvo mechadesh b'chol yom tamid ma'aseh bereshit ma rabu ma'asecha Adonai kulam b'chochma asita mal'a ha'aretz kinyanecha titbarach Adonai Eloheinu al shavach ma'aseh yadecha ve'al me'orei or sha'asita yefa'arucha sela Baruch atah Adonai yotzer ha'morot. Together, be praised our God, ruler of the universe, former of light, creator of darkness, maker of peace, and creator of all things. In your mercy, light shines over the earth and upon all who inhabit it. Through your goodness, the work of creation is daily renewed. How great are your works, O God! In wisdom you have made all of them. The earth is filled with all of your creations. The works of your hands, O God, praise you, and the wondrous stars and planets of the skies glorify you. Praise be you, O God, creator of all the lights of the heavens. Don't follow the path. Go where there is no path and begin the trail. When you start a new trail equipped with courage, strength, and conviction, the only thing that can stop you is you.
Ava Rabba, Ahava Rabba Atanu Ahava Rabba Atanu Ahava Rabba
A million tomorrows shall all pass away, ere I forget all the joy that is mine today.
Yeah, can't even read a John Denver passage without kind of tearing up a little bit, right? So we are together on page 11.
Please join me in chanting the Shema. Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad. Please be seated. ואהבת את אדוני אלוהיך בכל לבבך ובכל נפשך ובכל מאודיך, והיו הדברים האלה אשר אנוכי מצווך היום על לבביך, ושיננתם לבניך ודיברת בם. בשבתך בביתך ובלכתך בדרך ובשוכבך ובקומך, וקשרתם לאות על ידיך, והיו לטוטפות בין עיניך, וכתבתם על מזוזות ביתך ובישעריך. למען תזכרו ועשיתם את כל מצוותיי, והייתם קדושים לאלוהיכם. אני אדוני אלוהיכם, אשר הוצאתי אתכם מארץ מצרים, להיות לכם לאלוהים. אני אדוני אלוהיכם. Together. You shall love Adonai, your God, with all your heart, with all your soul, and with all your might. Take to heart these words which I command you this day. Teach them diligently to your children. Speak of them when you are at home and when you are away, when you lie down and when you arise. Bind them as a sign on your hand, and let them serve as symbols between your eyes. Inscribe them on the doorposts of your house and on your gates. Remember to do all my commandments and to be holy to your God. I am your God who led you out of Egypt to be your God. I am your God. Fight for the things that you care about, but do it in a way that will lead others to join you.
Perfect passage to lead us into Micha Mocha and Siahamba on pages 13 and 14, songs and prayers of liberation, urging us on to make sure that we are involved not only in our own liberation, but in the liberation of others. I'm thinking so many of our brothers and sisters and family and friends need our help. I'm thinking of our trans kids who are under attack, and all people who are oppressed like we were oppressed in this story. Oppression can be reversed, but it takes not only singing these songs, but walking in the light of God. So let's sing together in the spirit of freedom.
Bakodesh Norati Lot O Sefer Norati Lot O Sefer Shira Chadasha Shibakulim Shimcha Asafat Hayam Yisrael, go aleno Adonai Svaot Shemo, Kadosh Yisrael, Baruch Atah Adonai, Gai Yisrael, Siyaham Bakuken Yekwen Gos, 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 Siyaham Bakuken Yekwen Gos. We are marching in the light of God. 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 We are marching, we are marching, we are marching. We are marching in the light of God. We are marching, we are marching, we are marching. We are marching in the light of God. Mikamocha ba'elim Adonai, Mikamocha nedar b'kodesh. Mikamocha ba'elim Adonai, Mikamocha nedar b'kodesh.
Walking, I am listening to a deeper way. Suddenly, all my ancestors are behind me. Be still, they say. Watch and listen. You are the result of the love of thousands. Please rise.
bottom of page 15, so that we can all, not only are we in a sanctuary, but that we can be sanctuary.
Adonai, Sifatai Titach, Ofi Yagid, Tehilatecha, Adonai, Sifatai Titach, Ofi Yagid, Tehilatecha. Adonai, prepare me to be a sanctuary, pure and holy, tried and true, and with thanksgiving, I'll be a living sanctuary for you. Ya la 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 la, ya la 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 la, ya la la la, ya la la, ya la la la, ya la la la, ya la Adonai, Sifatai Titach, Ufi Yagid, Tehilatecha, Adonai, Sifatai Titach, Ufi Yagid, Tehilatecha.
Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu v'Elohei Avotenu v'Imotenu, Elohei Avraham, Elohei Yitzchak, v'Elohei Yaakov, Elohei Sarah, Elohei Rivka, Elohei Leah, v'Elohei Rachel, Ha'el Hagadol, Hagidor v'Hanorah, El Elyon, Gomel Hazadim Tovim, Vekonei Hakol, Vezoher Hasde Avot V'Imahot, Umevi Gula Leveneihem, Lama'an Shemo Be'ahava, Melech Ozer U'Moshia U'Magen, Baruch atah Adonai, Magen Avraham V'Ezrat Sarah. Together. Praised be the God of our ancestors, the God of Abraham, of Isaac, and of Jacob, of Sarah, of Rebekah, of Leah, and of Rachel. Praised be the source of strength and courage, the source of kindness and good deeds. Praised be the source of gentleness and love, of softness and kind words. Praised be the person who transcends strength through gentleness. Praised be the person who perfects gentleness through strength. Praise be the person who acts according to the best that is within. Praise be the person who reaches out to touch the best in others. Praise be the gentle faithfulness of Abraham and the valiant strength of Sarah. Praise be the God who infused humanity with divine potential. אתה גיבור לעולם אדוני, מחיי הכל אתה רב להושיע. מחלקל חיים בחסד, מחיי הכל ברחמים רבים. סומך נופלים ורופא חולים, ומתיר אסורים, ומקיים אמונתו לשני עפר. מי כמוך בעל גבורות, ומי דומה לך, Melech mimit u'mechayev u'masmiach Yeshuach v'ne'eman ata lahachayot hakol Baruch ata Adonai mechayeh hakol. We must accept finite disappointment, but never lose infinite hope.
So this prayer entitled Holiness reminds us to always, no matter how far apart we are, to fill in the spaces between us with Kedusha, with holiness, with love.
Nikadesh Shemcha Ma'alam Geshim Shemak Geshimot Umeshmei Maram Kakatuv Haya Neviyecha V'kara Zel Zeh Be'amar Kadosh 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 Adonai Sebaot Meloch ha'aretz Kevodo Adir Adirenu Adonai Adoneinu Ma'adir Shemcha b'kol ha'aretz Baruch Elod Adonai Mimkomo Echad hu Eloheinu Hu Avinu Malkeinu Hu Moshienu Ve'hu Yashmienu Berachamav ve'nekotai Ani Adonai Elohechem Yimloch Adonai le'olam Elohai Zion Dor vador Hallelujah Dor vador nagid God lecha U'netzat netzokim kodesh hachanatish V'shitchacha Eloheinu mimpinu lo yamush le'olam va'ed Baruch ata Adonai ha'el hakadosh.
Please be seated. Teach us love, compassion, and honor, that we may heal the earth and heal each other.
Beautiful message for Shabbat from the Ojibwe, because at its heart, at its core, all of our traditions teach us, guide us towards peace and love and compassion, all of those things. And so we make this a day to remind us that we can be our best selves. When we're our best selves, it makes the world a better place. And that's the promise of Shabbat.
Shamru v'nei Yisrael et ha-Shabbat asot et ha-Shabbat v'dorotam berit olam b'nei Ruven b'nei Yisrael Oti le'olam V'shamru b'nei Yisrael et ha-Shabbat La'asot et ha-Shabbat V'dorotam berit olam Kishishamim asa Adonai Hashemayim Va'el haaretz V'shamru b'nei
Turn please to page 22.
Be content with what you have. Rejoice in the way things are. When you realize there is nothing lacking, the whole world belongs to you. Immensity is within ourselves. It is attached to a sort of expansion of being that life curbs and caution arrests, but which starts again when we are alone. As soon as we become motionless, we are elsewhere. We are dreaming in a world that is immense. Indeed, immense is the movement of motionless man. It is one of the dynamic characteristics of quiet daydreaming.
We have to read that one again. A lot to unpack. As are really, I mean, if you look through this, Adore, the obvious intentionality. Okay.
Oh, okay.
I only put the microphone where Autumn tells me to put it, but I'll dare to move it. Okay. So, a beautiful passage, and one to really kind of be mindful of, as are all of the passages that Clementine chose. We'll have a moment in just a few seconds to kind of allow each other to go back through the Siddur and look through some of these passages. But that passage leads us to the last prayer before the Torah service, which is a prayer for peace, for shalom. And so we focus our attention on that lofty concept. The word shalom is repeated in Jewish prayer and literature more than perhaps any other word for a reason, because it is certainly our deepest hope for each other and for our families and for our communities, for our cities and neighborhoods and our country and the world. And so we take some time. It says, Sim Shalom, which is important because it's not just think about peace or even not just pray for peace, but Sim means make or do or be peace, right? In little ways and big ways, how can we be peacemakers to create more shalom, wholeness, and peace here, there, and everywhere?
Sim, 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 shalom, sim, 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 shalom, sim, 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 shalom, Torah uveracha, sim, 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 shalom, sim, shalom, sim, shalom, Torah uveracha.
So now we've come to this sort of turning point in the service where we take a little bit of a break. Shabbat itself is a break, but even within that stopping time, we stop even more for some silent time. Time to, again, look back through the Siddur, at the prayers, at the passages that Clementine chose for our spiritual edification, to go on your own journey of meditation and reflection and prayer. Can't help but, even though it's a silent time, Clementine, I'm going to be hearing you singing the prayers. That beautiful, clear voice, that will be part of my sort of silent meditation as well. So take a few moments. We'll return with another prayer for peace, and then we will turn into the Torah service with Clementine not only leading us, but teaching us as well. forgot to mention on pages 24, 25, this wonderful excerpt from a commencement speech by the amazing Brian Stevenson, a blueprint for how to change the world. So luckily, you can take these home, right, and study them at your leisure. But that's in there as well, again, mindful and thoughtful and important and meaningful. But now we're going to turn to page 26, and Clementine, you're going to tell everybody.
Please rise.
There you go. And so I'm going to ask now Rabbi Susan to come up and join us on the bima. And I'm going to ask first Ray Slavin, Dr. Ray Slavin, who has been, your family has chosen to open the Ark for the honor of opening the Ark. I know a longtime family friend and a wonderful friend of your grandfather of blessed memory. And so Ray, if you'll open the Ark, and then we're going to have this lineup, including your grandma, this is my favorite grandma. I hear a lot of grandma names, right? And they're really all amazing, but Grandma Magic, for a Madge, wins the prize, right? In more ways than one. So Grandma Magic, and of course your mom and your big sister who was bat mitzvah here, as Rabbi Susan always says, it seems like a blink of an eye ago, but it was a little longer than that. So you guys come on up, and you can open the Ark, Doctor.
How did we know, Clementine, so long ago, that Bahira would be just the right name for you? Illumination. Now, it was a leap because that's a big name. You know, that is one of the first books of the Kabbalah, the Jewish mystical tradition, the Sefer Bahir. But we decided to go for it. And it was perfect. Because look at you. You are illumination. I look at that beautiful portrait that you created on the cover of this Siddur, and I think about all of the work that will come forward from you. But today, in this moment, I want to look back. Because you stand, as you suggested in one of your readings, you stand in a long line of tradition. You are in this beautiful line of your father's people, and we feel Tom and Jen right here with us. Been together with them many times. A long line of tradition with your grandparents who are, I know, watching from Potosi. They're here with us. A long line of tradition of your mother's people and your father's people. And you know, I have to say a word about your grandfather, Tom, the Renaissance man, who is definitely here with us today. I can feel him because, you know, he knew how to reinvent himself again and again. So death was not going to keep him from being here today. Not even that. Things I think about, finding the optimist creed in his papers, the things I think about, how he was able to be so much to so many, and yet so humble. I remember how kind he was, that one of the very last things he said before he died was to ask your Grandma Magic how she slept. Oh, my dear, you come from a long line of magical people, your mother's people and your father's people. And not to mention your big sister, who, if you could pick a big sister, you picked a really good one. Such a good one. And such a great family. And you know, the other thing I know, because I know, you know, your mother, I've known your mother for so long, and I know your mother's family so well. And what I can say is that when you look out here, you don't just, you know, you see family, but you also see friends that are family. I'll bet you grew up calling everybody here aunt and uncle, because, like, what was the difference?
Yeah.
You know, they were family. They are family, and they will always be part of this wonderful line of tradition. So as Rabbi Randy said, this is Shabbat Parah. You know, It does prepare us. We're left Purim, that last fling of adolescence, and oh my God, we are ready to become a people with a purpose. And it's not going to be easy, this walk through the wilderness. It's not going to be easy. And, I can't promise you that life will be easy. You already know there are disappointments. There are difficulties. There are things we can't control. But what we're giving you today, I hope what we gave you when we gave you that spectacular name so long ago, and I remember promising you. And here we are today. You leading us in prayer and ready to teach us Torah. Oh my God. It works. It works because I know you have the toolbox, and you will continue to build the toolbox that no matter what happens to you in your life, you will be able to respond in holy ways because you have that illumination. You have the tools. You have the coattails. And you have this vision into the future that your art will help us all see, that will give us hope. And that's what Shabbat Parah is, It's this redemption for the golden calf, the greatest sin, that sin of certitude, that sin that said, we can make a God. We know what God is. We paid for that big time. But today, Shabbat Parah is the redemption. It's the redemption. It's life. Something that reminds us that if religion needs to be anything, it needs to be a verb. If God is anything, Ehyeh Asher Ehyeh, God's name is, I will be what I will be, that it is always becoming. So, my dear, the last thing in your portion, it says, know the difference between the profane, the ordinary, and the sacred and the holy. And I can see it in your eyes. You know the difference between what is mundane and ordinary. And I can see you have all the tools that you'll ever need to lift it up and make it holy. What a privilege to stand here with you and your family in this long line of tradition, some on Zoom, some right here, some coming from the world to come, right here with you, holding you, blessing you, and challenging you to go forward. So you know the story of this Torah. We give it to all of our B'nai Mitzvah students. This Torah is a survivor. This Torah is seeing the very worst that humanity is capable of. Unfortunately, we're seeing it again and again and again. But this Torah says, don't give up. This Torah came from a village in Czechoslovakia called Holosov, and all the Jews were taken into the synagogue pretty much and destroyed or taken to camps. But this Torah made it to a basement in Prague. And sometime in the 60s, it was found with a lot of its fellow Torahs. And even though they were in this dark, dank basement and could have become so moldy that we never even could have identified them, some of them survived well enough to be taken to a synagogue in London and given out for adoption. And so we have one of these very Torahs right here to remind us never to give up, that as long as we remember who we belong to, the line of tradition that we are a part of, that we are always a part of something greater than ourselves, and you have that toolbox to make the world better, to change the world and make it better, then I know we too will survive like this Torah. So it's a privilege to put it into your Grandma Magic's arms. There she is. To your beautiful mama who's taught so many people to see, to make art, to make the world beautiful, including my own children, no longer children. To your big sister who held this Torah a minute ago, and now into your arms, beautiful Bahira. Please, as a sign that you accept all of this and you're going to remember every word I said.
It's on video.
Okay, good. Please lead us, my dear, in the words of the Shema.
Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad, Echad Eloheinu, Gadol Adonenu, Kadosh Shemo. Yeah? Do we do this part?
Yeah, let's do this.
Yeah, we'll do this part. So you can put your books down. Once again, clap with us, dance in your seats as Clementine and her family take the Torah to us so that we can just get a little closer to the teachings of Torah, this wonderful toolbox that will help us respond in holy ways. You ready? All right, take it away.
1, 2, 3, go.
There we go.
Ya da 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 da. Ya da 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 da. Ya da 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 da. Ya da 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 da. Hey, hey, ya da 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 da. 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 Ya da da da
Okay, please be seated. Sorry I took your line, Clementine, but Clementine's preparing to read from the Torah, which is open up to the portion of the week that Rabbi Susan was talking about, Shemini, in the book of Leviticus. That was Aunt Jenny, the same Aunt Jenny of the Talit, who made the Talit, and cousin Charlie, who helped us get the Torah prepared to be chanted. And we are on page 27, actually 27 and 28, technically, because on 27 is the Hebrew that Clementine's looking at right here in the Torah, although on page 27, it's the Hebrew with the vowels. And as your teacher, Toby, tutor who's right there in the front row, usually Toby and Stuart aren't in the front row, but I heard from Stuart that you said front row, right? And so there's still, I think Stuart's still getting used to being in the front row. But it's okay, it's not bad, is it? Okay, well, we'll talk about it later. But yeah, I know that it's been joyful learning with Toby, and I think it's good that you guys are connected this way as you start chanting. But as Toby will attest to, the Hebrew on page 27 is quite a bit different than the way the Hebrew looks in the Torah. Some of you know this, that Clementines are about to read from. No vowels, that's the way Hebrew was originally written, so we preserve that in the Torah scrolls. So it takes learning Hebrew a couple times over to read from the Torah. But you've done it, Clementine, and we want to surround you and this moment with blessings, because it is a mitzvah to hear the words from the Torah portion of the week on Shabbat. And so the first aliyah is going to be bringing back your sister, Delilah. One of the things that happens when you become bat mitzvah is you can be called up for an aliyah, and what a wonderful time to be called your own sister's bat mitzvah. I have to say, as Delilah's up here, is that Rabbi Susan and I, in just a few days, will be leaving for New York City with 11th and 12th graders, including Delilah. So, right?
I'm so excited.
Something to look forward to, Clementine, in a few years. But now it's time for you to have your aliyah, so I'm going to call you to the Torah with your beautiful Hebrew name of Adiyah, right? Adiyah, jewel of God, right? Ta'amod Adiyah Batam.
With your names.
Rabbi Susan just said we had fun with your names. That's what she said. Ta'amod Adiyah Batam V'chana Eitzah Aliyah L'Torah Rishona.
Baruch et Adonai HaBarach. Baruch Adonai HaBarach.
Rak Le'olam Va'ed.
Baruch Adonai HaBarach Le'olam Va'ed. Baruch Atah Adonai Eloheinu Melech HaOlam Asher Bachar Banu Mikol Ha'amim V'natan Lanu et Torato. Baruch Atah Adonai Noten HaTorah.
Amen.
Vayitkechu b'nei Aharon Nadav Avihu Ish Machtato Vayitnu Vahen Eish Vayasimu Aleha Ketoret Vayakrivu Lifnei Adonai Eish Dara Asher Lo Tziva Otam Vateitze Eish Milifnei Adonai Vatochal Otam Vayamutu Lifnei Adonai Vayomer Moshe El Aharon Hu Asher Diber Adonai Lemor Vikiro Vayekadesh Ve'al Penechol Ha'am Ekaved Vayidom Aharon.
Blessing after Delilah.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher natan lanu Torah emet v'chaye olam nata b'tochenu Baruch atah Adonai noten haTorah.
Amen. Looking for our spot. You'll find it, and we'll get there. So while we're that was the first aliyah. Your sister, you stay up here, Delilah, but we're going to bring up now your mom and your grandma using their Hebrew names. Your mom asked for an extra Hebrew name, which is seems to be like a sub-theme, right? The names, but Ann told me that she loves trees, which isn't a surprise, and of course Trigger, kind of it works, right? So and the middle name Eitzah, which is tree, right? So Ta'amdu Miriam V'chana Eitzah Aliyah L'Torah Sheni. Baruch Adonai Hambarach Le'olam Va'ed.
Asher Bachar Banu Mikol Ha'amim V'natan Lanu et Torato Baruch Atah Adonai Noten HaTorah.
Okay. Vayikra Moshe El Mishael Vel El Tzafan Bnei Uziel Dod Aharon Vayomer Alehem Kirvu Se'u Et Achechem Emet Pnei HaKodesh El Michutz LaMachane Vayikrovu Vayisaum Bechuto Notam אל מחוץ למחנה, כאשר דיבר משה. ויאמר משה אל אהרון, ולאלעזר, ולאיתמר בניו, ראשיהם אל תפרעו, ובגדיכם לא תפרומו ולא תמותו, ועל כל העדה יכסוף, ואחיכם כל בית ישראל יבכו את השרפה אשר שרף אדוני.
And the blessing after. It is very good.
Same melody.
Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, asher natan lanu Torah emet, v'chaya olam natan b'tochenu. Baruch atah Adonai, noten haTorah.
Amen. So I think, Clementine, I'm going to ask your grandma and your sister to take their seats. Yashikoach, both of you. I'm going to have your mom stay here. There you go. Pat on the back. I like that. It's very 2020, 2022, right? I asked your mom to stand with you, because this is really a singular moment, Clementine, though you have been leading this service so beautifully and chanting Torah. There's not even a word to describe that. But it's a singular moment when you become called to the Torah. That is what makes you a bat mitzvah. And so wanted her to stand with you, and in front of you, take a look up and see all of these people who are part of this moment with you as you become bat mitzvah. And it's an honor to call you to the Torah, truly, having gotten to know you through these years, and especially these last years of preparation. This Torah portion is about the preparation, and then you're ready. That's what it is. 7 days of preparation. On the 8th day, you're ready. And it feels like that. You prepare, and boy, you are ready to become bat mitzvah, to use that Hebrew name, Bahira, that we've talked about, and to call you to the Torah as a bat mitzvah. Ta'amod Bahira bat tam v'chana etza aliyah Torah bat ha-mitzvah.
Wait, am I supposed to do the third? Okay. Baruch et Adonai Hamvarach.
Baruch Adonai Hamvarach le'olam va'ed.
Baruch Adonai Hamvarach le'olam va'ed. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher bachar banu mikol ha'amim, v'natan lanu et Torato. Baruch atah Adonai noten haTorah. Petach ohel moed lo teitzu pen tamutu ki shemen mishchat Adonai aleichem vaya'asu kidavar Moshe. Vayidaber Adonai el Aharon lemor yayin v'shechar al tisht atah uvanecha itach bevoachem Elohel moed velo tamutu hukat olam ledorotechem ulahavdil bein hakodesh uvein hachol uvein hatamei uvein hatachor ulaharot et bnei Yisrael et kol hachukim asher diber Adonai aleihem bayad Moshe. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher natan lanu Torat emet, v'hayei olam nata b'tochenu. Baruch atah Adonai noten haTorah.
Amen, amen, amen.
I'm trying to get a little nachas from your mama. Beautiful, beautiful. You have opened our hearts, Clementine, literally, truthfully. And so and also using that wonderful yad that Toby lent you so that you could really feel her presence and as well as seeing her. But we want to take this moment where our hearts have been opened by the chanting of Torah, soon to be taught a lesson of Torah. But we pause again to think of those people in our lives and in the world who could use some of the healing energy that we are feeling here today into their lives. People who are sick, we say those suffering with mind, body, and spirit. And so we have a list of people that we pray for all the time, kind of also urging us to be agents or angels of healing, so to take this moment to encourage us to visit, to be with people who could use a healing touch. So I encourage you to think about people in your lives who could use healing, people we don't even know who are suffering. We want to open our hearts to people in your family, Clementine, who are, kind of have pneumonia and are just kind of under the weather. We hope that they feel better soon. Thinking about Rick Isserman and about Gloria Lash, about the friends and family of Renee Deal who are in mourning. That's certainly a time that they need our support and our prayers. And I know many, many other people I'm sure who are streaming, are typing in names. So we think about them all, and we have a prayer that is inserted right after the Torah reading called Misha Berach. It's on page 29. Let's sing it together for all those who could use refuah shlema, complete healing. Thinking about Anna and all the people.
Jill Hollifield.
For Jill, thank you. Thanks. Misha Berach.
Misha Berach Avotenu Mekor Abracha Leimotenu. May the source of strength will bless the ones before us. Help us find the courage to make our lives a blessing, and let us say Amen. Misha Berach Imotenu Mekor Abracha Leavotenu. Bless those in need of healing with refuah shlema, the renewal of body, the renewal of spirit, and let us say Amen.
For Marion Rosen, recovering from hip surgery, another wonderful teacher of Torah and of Hebrew. Martin Ilovicki, Howie's dad. Angela McCurry, who's recovering nicely. Wanted to add Janet Cunningham, Johanna Sonnenshine's mother, and Autumn, who's back there making sure that we can stream out to whoever wants to be part of this bat mitzvah and couldn't be here. Autumn has a friend who has an infant son named Simon, who has curable leukemia, but was diagnosed with that really difficult health issue. And so we're thinking about Simon, Autumn, and for all of our loved ones, for all who need healing. The Hatimah of this prayer, the part that seals it, we hope and pray for those we love. As on page 29, the bottom, we say together, Baruch Atah Adonai, Rofei HaCholim. Blessed is the Holy One who helps us find ways of bringing healing to those who are sick. And let us say, Amen. So now, every Torah portion has an additional passage from the books of the prophets, and Shemini is no exception. And so the Haftorah that goes along with Shemini is from the second book of Samuel, sort of some of the history of ancient Israel and Judea. You can follow along with Clementine as she chants the blessings and the Haftorah, or the passage from the Haftorah itself. And then we'll take a breath together, and you'll hear a really powerful teaching that Clementine has been spending a lot of time preparing to make sure we can all leave here with a message and a mission. So starting on page 30.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher bachar b'nvi'im tovim v'ratza v'dibrechem hena'emarim be'emet. Baruch atah Adonai Habocher b'Torah u'Moshe avdo u'Yisrael amo u'v'nvi'ei ha'emet v'tzedek. Vayehi ki yeshav hamelech beveito va'Adonai haniach lo misaviv mikoivav. Vayomer hamelech el Natan hanavi re'ei na anochi yoshev beveit arazim va'aron ha'elohim yoshev b'toch ha'yiriyah. Vayomer Natan el hamelech kol asher bi'ovavecha lech aseh Ki Adonai imach, vayehi b'layla ha'u, vayehi devar Adonai el Natan lemor. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech ha'olam, tzur kol ha'olamim, tzadik bechol hadorot, ha'el ha'ne'eman, ha'omer ve'oseh, hamdaber umkayem, shekol devarav, emet v'tzedek. Al ha'torah, ve'al ha'avodah, ve'al hanvi'im, ve'al yom ha'shabbat hazeh, shenatata lanu Adonai Eloheinu, likdusha v'limnucha, lechavod u'tifaret. Al hakol Adonai Eloheinu, anachnu modim lach, umvarchim otach, yitbarach shimcha befi kol hai, tamid le'olam va'ed. Baruch atah Adonai, mekadesh haShabbat. When you play with fire, you get burned. Shemini, which is the name of my Torah portion, represents the pure, the impure, rules, consequences, obedience, and disobedience. In this passage, Moses tells Aaron and his sons to make offerings to the Eternal in exchange for expiation, and a chance for all of the people to get a view of God. Aaron and his sons bring a burnt offering, a purgation offering, and a well-being offering to the altar. The Eternal accepts these offerings and reveals himself. Aaron's sons Nadab and Abihu each took a fire pan and lit incense upon it, then brought it to the sanctuary altar for an offering. Because this was not upon the wishes of the Eternal, Nadab and Abihu were consumed by fire. The passage ends with a long list of pure things and impure things, and how consuming the impure can lead to consequences. Rules and consequences are a big part of our world today. Just like Nadab and Abihu were punished for not following the rules, we too have rules and laws that we abide by, and if we don't, we pay the price. Whether they be at school or on the road, or even in your own house, there are always consequences to not following the rules. If you don't follow our country's laws, that can lead to a severe punishment, such as prison or even death, or less severe, like a fine or community service. If you were to do something your parents told you not to do in your own house, the consequences may not be as severe, but you will probably still receive them. You could have something of joy taken away from you, like your favorite game or your privileges to watch television. There are also natural consequences for breaking the law. For example, running a stop sign could mean an accident, or not wearing your helmet on a bike could mean an injury. Punishments come in all forms, whether they be small or large. Breaking the rules can not only lead to punishment, but also perhaps to a future of guilt, remorse, or regret. While it is important to provide people with rules and consequences, we want to make sure that one's consequences aren't excessive. Some commentators argue that the punishment for Nadav and Abihu was excessive. There are many times where I've witnessed a small rule break that results in an over-the-top punishment. People break rules all of the time, all over the world. Over time, I've noticed that in most cases, there are smaller consequences given to those with privilege, and larger consequences given to those who have less privilege. If you are a very wealthy person, it is likely that it may be easier for you to get out of certain situations that involve punishment. And sometimes, if you are a person of wealth, you may not be given one at all. People with lower income may not find it as easy to avoid situations with punishment. This brings me to the issue of race in America. In the subject of criminal law, there have been many cases of people who are not within the white race being faced with severe punishment, whether it be life in prison or even the death penalty. There are also times in which one's race is looked at before the crime they may have committed, which can lead to people being falsely accused of something they did not do. People of color have always had less privilege than white people in America. If a white person went over the speed limit or ran a red light, in most cases, they would only be given a ticket. If a person of color were to do the exact same things, they may be faced with a much harsher punishment. There are also inequities in laws and consequences between men and women. There are mandates on what a woman can and can't do, on what women can and can't do with their bodies, which is not true for men. In some countries, women are held to standards that are unrealistic for our time. If women don't follow these rules, it may result in death. The discrepancies between laws and consequences for the haves and the have-nots, the white Americans and the brown and black Americans, the males and females, are some of the biggest problems we face as a society. We need more people to recognize and help change these inequalities. There have been many times in my life when I've encountered situations of excessive consequences. When I was in 3rd grade, I received a punishment I do not believe was fair, and it has stuck with me to this day. One day after school, I was sent to the playground for aftercare because my parents had not picked me up on time. I was joined by a friend. We sat on campus and talked. Once we were bored, we decided to do something that wasn't a very good idea. We went into our book bags, got pencils, and drew a smiley face on one of the school fence posts. We then realized it wasn't a good idea and erased what we thought was all the evidence. At school the next day, our teacher asked to speak with us. She had seen the erased marks on the fence post and what little was left of our smiley face doodles. She was furious with us and gave us a job to do as payment, but it wasn't a small one. For the next few hours, my friend and I went around the whole outer building and scrubbed all of the fence posts in sight with soap and water. I did end up learning my lesson, but I still believe it was an excessive amount of work to do for a small smiley face drawing. There have been many cases I've learned about in which people in the news have been given unfair consequences. I will start with what caused an uprising in the fight for racial equality. The case of George Floyd. George Floyd was a black man accused of using a counterfeit $20 bill at a food and goods store. The cashier believed the money was counterfeit and called the police. The police came and did something that went against everything that their organization is supposed to stand for. An officer held a knee on George Floyd's neck for over 7 minutes, all while he was shouting the words, "I can't breathe." He later died due to the lack of oxygen he received while being abused. This all happened due to the blatant racism and prejudice towards the black community from the officers there that day. If it were a white person who did the exact same thing, they surely wouldn't have been killed. There have been cases of falsely accused people of color being put on death row, and many other cases of Black people being killed due to police brutality. There have been women in jobs or girls in school who have been sent home for wearing revealing clothing. These are all real-life examples of consequences gone overboard, and how privilege alone can give you many unfair advantages. I feel that what happened to Nadab and Abihu wasn't right. They simply wanted to make another offering, but because the Eternal did not tell them to do so, they were killed. Unlike what I spoke about in the earlier paragraphs, Nadab and Abihu do both in fact have privilege, but were still given an excessive punishment. They have relative privilege, meaning that they possess many advantages compared to others, but when it comes to the rules of an ultimate authority, such as the Eternal, not abiding by them may cause severe consequences. This passage deals with the issues of overly excessive consequences and not following the rules. I saw many similarities between the passage's issues and the issues in today's society. I strongly believe that not receiving punishment for breaking rules comes with privilege, and in order to contribute to changing these inequities, those with privilege should acknowledge their advantages. There are so many rules and restrictions today that make many people fear for their own lives. Just like it wasn't fair for Nadab and Abihu to lose their lives for doing the bare minimum, it is not fair for anyone in today's world to lose their lives for looking a certain way. It is important to have rules and consequences because they guide us as human beings. But when someone breaks a small rule and receives a large, life-threatening punishment, that's when it's not fair. Yes, Nadab and Abihu played with fire, but did they need to get burned so badly?
Dan didn't want it to end. None of us really wanted it to end, and he knows what he's talking about. He's stands an attorney that helps people who are traditionally excluded from fairness. Wow, Clementine. I have to say that, it's been such a pleasure to meet with you. We started out on Zoom, I think, and then we kind of finally were able to meet in person. But this teaching was fully formed. Didn't need any coaching or editing or anything because it came from your heart and your mind and your experiences and the way that you look at the world. Extraordinary. This whole bat mitzvah journey. I think your mom's going to tell the story about what you said at your sister's bat mitzvah, so I'm going to leave that for her, right? Right? No? Can I share it? Share it? Okay. All right, you ready for this? Mm-hmm. Your mom said at Delilah's bat mitzvah, she asked you, do you think you're going to have a bat mitzvah? Because I know both of you had the choice, right? Delilah kind of moved the mountain to make it happen. And you said, nah, I'm a free spirit. Is that right?
I think so.
Something like that. Do you remember? But you are a free spirit, and you're here because your free spirit led you here. I believe that with all my heart, and your free spirit wrote that commentary. So the only thing I can add to that, because it would be really it'd be a foul if I tried to add to what you said. We're going to all sit with that for a long time. I was thinking this morning about this definition of spirituality that I heard from a rabbi, another rabbi, who said, spirituality is really not about how you feel. He said, spirituality is about paying attention. And I love that because it means to me paying attention to the good stuff, right? Like recognizing when there's beauty around you and recognizing when there's, when you're in a relationship with somebody or a friendship with somebody that's filling you up with goodness, nature, all the things, music, art, all the things that we, sometimes we can sort of tune all that stuff out. But if we have spirituality, we're paying attention to the blessings. But there's another side of that coin of paying attention. It's not just paying attention to the good stuff. It's paying attention when it's not good. Not ignoring the unholy as much as we don't want to ignore the holy. And what you did is you looked in this Torah portion and you saw injustice. And so you decided that's what you wanted to talk about and teach us about. and charge us with. So it's paying attention, and then you took the extra step. You didn't talk about this in your commentary, so I'm gonna say it, because the extra step is doing something about it. So outside, before you leave, we're not yet having eating and drinking, right, because of COVID in the synagogue, but there are treats, courtesy of your family. You could take with you sweetness, and I hope that you pay attention to the blessings of having a sweet treat after such a wonderful bat mitzvah. But there's also a packet from Clementine about the Innocence Project, which addresses exactly what you were talking about, which is incredible people and lawyers who are working really hard on the behalf of people who have been unjustly accused, some of them on death row, right?
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Yeah, and the treats actually were made by Roseanne. She's an amazing chef, and I just would like to say thank you for that, because they're really...
Paying attention. So Clementine has, you've seen her artwork. Some of you know it really well, but everyone sees it on the cover of their siddur. You've been selling artwork that you've created, and all the proceeds are going to the Innocence Project. And so all that information's in the packet. So please remember, be mindful and pay attention. Take your sweet thing and your difficult, challenging thing, both of which are really a part of what you gave us as a gift and a blessing. So I would like to put my mask on so I can give you a blessing. So this is a blessing for this moment and these moments. Everything that this has meant to you, not just today, but everything that led to today. Everything that led to today. I'm so glad you decided that your free spirit led you to having a bat mitzvah, Clementine. It's really gives me lots of joy, and it's an honor to give you this blessing called Shehechianu, the blessing for right now, everything that this moment means to you and what you made this moment mean to us. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam shehechianu v'kimanu v'higianu lazman hazeh. Blessed is the Holy One whose presence fills creation, whose presence surely fills this moment and this place, that presence that gave us life, that kept us alive and brought us to Lazman Hazeh, this moment, Clementine, of you becoming bat mitzvah, a daughter of this tradition who will rock our worlds, right? Who will change Judaism for the better and change the world for the better. Amen. But the blessings continue. It's an honor to ask Dr. Ray Slavin to come back to the Bima. Ray, as you know, is a dear family friend of yours and your family's. He's also has been a member of our board of directors, and he is one of the members of our COVID task force, which has, with wisdom and compassion and, some rules, right, guided us so that we could be back together. So Ray has gifts and blessings on behalf of this congregation that is so lucky that you and your family are part of us and have been for a very long time, Grandma Magic. So, Ray.
Clementine Huck. I'm in awe when I see how a cute little girl evolved into an attractive, accomplished, generous person. I have to add that last night we went to the second bar mitzvah of Rabbi Stiffman at Sherry Emeth, and he said at his first bar mitzvah in Baltimore, the rabbi said to him as they were starting the studies, "I have bad news." Stiffman thought, "Oh my gosh, what?" He said, "You have the most difficult portion in the Torah." I would say that Pinchas is a close second, don't you? But you did just beautifully. As Rabbi Randy indicated, my ties with the Trieger family go back to 72 years ago when I met Grandpa Tom when we were fraternity brothers at the University of Michigan. We established a wonderful relationship and then graduated and went our separate ways with further training and building a career and a family. We settled in St. Louis in 1965, and wonder of wonders, the Triegers followed some years later. And we reconnected, and we've had wonderful times with the family, not the least of which is when Harriet and I took you and Delilah to Vito's for dinner, and then Circus Flora. What a wonderful time we had. So I treasure the times with you. I'm very honored to have the privilege given by the board to give you some gifts. The first is the tzedakah box. We certainly know about your generosity already, and I'm sure you'll use this. I have to mention that my granddaughter Elena worked on the Innocence Project all 4 years at Cardoza Law School, where Barry Sheff, the founder of the Innocence Project, was on the faculty. So I know a good deal about the Innocence Project. We also have a certificate for planting of trees in your honor. One tree in the Jewish part of Israel, the second in an Arab territory. And I certainly hope that you'll have an opportunity someday soon to go and see the trees that were planted for you. Our best wishes for continued success.
Amen. And yeah, we'll put these on the table. The docket jar and your certificates. Yeah. Thank you, Ray. And Clementine, you probably know that Ray's had not just one, not just two, but 3 bar mitzvahs, right? So that's all with Pinchas, I think. So, you know, it's a journey, and what an amazing beginning of the journey that you've shown us and displayed for us. And so we're going to put the Torah away. I'm going to ask to help us with that task. First, Leland, your godfather. Leland, come up and open the ark doors. And then family friends Linda and Kathleen are going to help to dress the Torah. And Clementine, everyone is sitting, so you could tell them now to please
rise.
Yes. All right. As we hear the song of the words of the prophet that tells us that Torah is a living tree of life, Eitz Chaim on page 32, and we need no further reminder of the fact that Torah is a living tree of life than Clementine and how she breathed life into the Torah. So,
Eitz Chaim למחזיקים בה ותומכיה מאושר דרכיה דרכי נועם וכל נתיבותיה שלום השיבנו אדוני אליך בנשובה חדש חדש ימינו חדש ימינו
please stay standing. Clementine and I are going to face the ark, so we're all facing east, the direction of new beginnings and hope, singing the words of Aleinu L'Shabeach on page 33. Aleinu L'Shabeach L'Adon HaKol, L'Tekidu L'Yotzer Bereshit, Shelo Asanu Kigoyei Haratzot, V'lo Samanu K'mishpachot Ha'adama, Shelo Sam Chelkeinu Kahem, V'gohor Aleinu Kechol Hamonam, V'anachnu Korim, U'mishtachavim U'modim, Lifnei Melech Malchei Hamlachim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu, Shehu Notei Shamayim V'Yosed Aretz, Umoshav Yikaro B'Shamayim Ma'ah, Ushrinat Uzo, B'Gov Hei Meromim, Hu Eloheinu Ein Od, Emet Malkeinu Efezulato, Hakatu B'Torato, V'yadata Hayom V'Hashevota El Levavecha, Ki Adonai Hu HaElohim, B'Shamayim Lima'al, Ve'al Haaretz, Mitachat Ein Od, V'ne'emar, L'haya Adonai, L'melech al kol haaretz, Bayom hahu, Yeh Adonai echad, Ushemo echad.
Please be seated.
Just for a moment, lots of things going on, both virtual and in person at CRC. Feel free to look at our website for some of the classes and activities that are happening. I know those of you that are streaming, Autumn is helpfully putting some of those announcements onto the chat. A program I do want to highlight, and everybody is welcome. This is a program that we're co-sponsoring with a wonderful group called Matovu, who's this group of young adult Jewish folks of all, from all kinds of backgrounds who are sort of reinventing again, their way of expressing Judaism, and they've got a place in South St. Louis that used to be a synagogue, right? And then became a church. And then when the church left the building, now Matovu has it and is doing services and programs. There's a speaker, and I'm really sorry, I don't have his name. Maybe Autumn can look at it, but there's thank you, Karen Flotty. Dr. Lewis Gordon, who is a professor. He is a Jew of color, and he is coming to speak at SLU, and Matovu wisely said, hey, do you have an evening that you can spend with us? And so Dr. Gordon is speaking on Tuesday at 7 p.m. at Matovu. You can look up where that is in South St. Louis, right off Kings Highway by the Grove, I think. And he's speaking about liberation from a Jewish and African-American perspective. So I know there's a lot of people in this congregation, in this gathering for Clementine who are interested in that topic. So that's Tuesday night, 7 p.m. We have a racial justice circle at CRC who's really been promoting and will be attending as well. So I wanted to make sure everybody knew that. And now we transition to the ending of our service where we want to make sure we don't leave without calling to mind and to heart those people whose shoulders we stand upon, people we've loved and lost, this moment of remembrance. And Clementine, I know you're going to start out our remembrance. These amazing pictures on page 34 say a multitude, but go ahead and tell us.
I miss and love you, Papa Tom. You hold a special place in my heart.
May his memory be a blessing. Husband and father and grandfather, friend. So we're remembering him with you, Clementine, and with your family. And now we want to ask anyone in the congregation, if you're here to say Kaddish for someone, if it's the yahrzeit, the anniversary of their passing, or if you're in your year of mourning, please stand so we can recognize you as a mourner and hear the names of the people that you're remembering. And we'll start with Lisa. We remember them with you. Thank you. And Mel. Thank you, Mel. We'll certainly all stand for Renee and say her name all year long. But thank you for starting us off back here. For Shirley. Somebody else who, we can close our eyes and just picture her, right? In this place, and I know for you, many places. Thank you for being here and for saying Kaddish for your mom. Please.
My grandma, Gwendolyn Salter.
For your grandma. May her memory. You can stay standing. We'll all join you in a second, but thank you for saying her name and bringing her spirit to Clementine's bat mitzvah service. And standing for
My dear friend's life partner, his name is Paco Camarlinga.
we remember with you. Thank you. And Delilah and Madge for Tom. Yeah. Yep, I get it. Standing with Lisa, or do you have, yeah, okay. Autumn, other names?
Erica Gartner and Leonard Bell.
We remember them. Leslie, Andrew? Thank you, Andrew. Renee. So let's all stand together now. And we stand to support the mourners who have spoken names, but also because we're remembering people together as a community. I'd like to say some of their names as well. This is the yard site, the anniversary of the passing of Elaine Sentnor, who was Dave's grandmother, and of Henrietta Bogner, who was Stuart Bogner's mother, and Ray Roggins, Bunny Shopper's mother. I talked to Bunny just the other day. She sends her love to everybody. And Anatole Tamsky, Morris Tamsky's father, in Cuba, and started Anatole's, which was a fabric store. And when Morris moved to St. Louis, I see people shaking their heads. Anatole's is now here in St. Louis, run by the family. So for Anatole. For Richard Handros, Elaine Kasten's brother-in-law. For Theodore Hoffman, Gail Hochberg's father. Betty Faye Barton, Albert Barton's sister. And Sharon Cohn, who was Sharon Hollander's cousin. Also, of course, remembering Renee Deal, the wonderful Renee Deal. Remembering Al Baker and Florine Faye Zimmerman. For Rabbi Karen's Mimi, Hermione Jacobs Davidson. That was Rabbi Karen's grandmother. And Phyllis Leventhal and Aubrey Yawitz and Elaine Siegel, and as was mentioned, Shirley Potisha. Remembering also our members who have passed in this past year, including Susan Carlson and Pat Denlow, Bob's wife of blessed memory, Kyle Currier, young husband and father, Samuel Nussbaum and Linda Holtzman, a wonderful U-City friend and member of CRC and anti-racism activist, Alex's mom, Karen Margot, who was Mitch's wife, and Judge Roberta Hitt, our neighbor here down the street and the wife of David Hitt. Remembering Andy Neiman, Laney's son and friend to many, very much missed. Ed Lander, Vicky's father, and Gail Hollefeld, Jill's mom. Orietta Cohn, Lucy Ann Cohn's mother, and Michael Kiernan, another young husband and father, Deb's husband, and Noah, Aviva, and Zahava's dad. We remember all those names, all the people that you mentioned, people that haven't been mentioned, but are in our hearts when we remember our loved ones who have passed away, the people who have died in Ukraine, people who have died from AIDS and of COVID, people who've died from violence that we need to figure out how to get under control. So that we keep more precious souls on this planet with us as long as we can. We think about all of them in this moment of Kaddish. You can find the prayer under the pictures of Papa Tom on pages 34 and 35. We say together, Yit Gadal v'Yit Kadash Shemei Rabbah, Be'alma Divra Kirotei v'Yamlich Malchutei, B'chaye Echon u'v'yom Echon u'v'chaye Dechol Beit Yisrael, B'galau v'zman Kari v'imru Amen. Yehei Shemei Rabbah Mivarach le'olam Omei Almaya, Yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitpa'ar v'yitromam v'yitnaseh, V'yid hadar v'yitaleh v'yitalal shemei de kudesha b'richu. Le'ed la min kol birchata v'shirata. Tushbechata v'nechemata. Da'amiran be'alma v'imru. Amen. Yehei shlam rabba min shemaya v'chaim aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael v'imru. Amen. Oseh shalom b'mromav. Hu ya'aseh shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael ve'al kol yoshvei tevel v'imru. Amen.
Oh, say shalom b'mromav. Hu ya'aseh shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael ve'imru. Amen. Oh, say shalom b'mromav. Hu ya'aseh shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael ve'imru. Amen. Ve'imru. Amen. Ve'imru. Amen.
Going to add 4 more names. Our friend Steve Engelhardt sent. These 4 died in Beersheba in a terrorist attack. Doris Yabis, Laura Yitzchak, Menachem Yechezkel, and Rabbi Moshe Kravitsky. May all of their memories be a blessing, and you may be seated. Well, Clementine, guess what? More blessings. This blessing, I'm going to ask your mom, Ann, to come up and I know bring blessings from your dad and also her own blessing.
Before I start the blessing, I want to say one more remembrance, a special one for one of my closest friends, Mary Nichols, who died in 2020. She was one of the most amazing artists I know and one of the most phenomenal people I've ever met. And she was a mentor for Clemmy and still is, and I know she's here in spirit. So we love you, Mary. My darling Clementine. When I caught my first glimpse of you, before you even took your first breath, you were holding up your fist in a power to the people gesture. And I knew you would be strong and fierce. When you grew within me, head up, feet down, refusing to budge through coaxing music, prenatal massage, and even earthquake tremors, I knew you would be resolute and determined, holding fast to your position no matter the well-traveled recommended course. When you came into the world, bottom first, Dr. Welserman laughing at you, mooning him, I knew you'd have a sense of humor and an incorrigible impishness. When you signed an early work of art by imprinting the thick paper with your bite mark, I knew you'd know no bounds when it came to personal expression and that your every creation would be intensely original. When your daycare workers shared with you that she was from South America and she missed her mother, and you placed your tiny hand on her heart and said, "She's in here," I knew you would have an enormous capacity for love and empathy. When you sang "Hey Jude" at the school talent show with that soulful cry in your voice and reprised it for your Papa Tom before he died, I knew you'd have the transformative power to move and heal, not only with your artistic gifts, but your musical ones as well. When you stood out in the woods at night in a thunderstorm while camping to hang our food in a tree away from bears, I knew you would have a fearless sense of adventure. when you devoted your Saturday mornings to running 5Ks, raising money for charitable causes. I knew you would understand the value of discipline and the imperative of giving. And now, when you stand here fulfilling this sacred rite of becoming a bat mitzvah, I am overwhelmed with awe and wonder by all you've shown throughout the year of preparation for this auspicious day. Your diligent work ethic and strong study habits while learning to read and chant Hebrew, your perseverance in searching for meaning in your Torah portion, and your insight in interpreting it in a way that resonates with the world today. Your passionate sense of justice in raising money for the Innocence Project, and the care and solemnity with which you perform the holy act of reciting the ancient words of the Torah. Now, when you've accomplished all of this, I know there are no limits to the good you'll do in the world. I love you infinitely, my Clemmy Cricket. And now I have the privilege of reading her father's blessing. Sadly, he and his wife both fell ill. They're okay, but they couldn't make it. For Clementine, let me say first that Jen and I are very sorry that we are not able to attend this special occasion. We will regret it for a long time, but know that we are there with you in spirit. On an occasion as momentous as this, it is hard to summarize everything that is great about a great person, daughter, artist, and rocker. So I will keep it simple and direct. It has been an amazing journey so far. We have all, especially myself, watched in wonder and amazement, watching you develop into a young woman and artist. It fills us all with great pride every time we see a new drawing or painting. I personally will admit that you have even inspired me in my own work. Your many talents are all incredible, but it is in your art practice that I see a young spirit developing towards a soulful and creative force. I cannot wait to see where your art takes you in your life. I am also constantly touched by your caring and empathy for social causes and the struggles of individuals in general. This quality is why you will always be loved and adored by everyone around you. It is no small feat at your age to be able to have a conversation about the current state of politics and then turn around and be speaking in depth to me about the importance of the rock band Queen. When these moments occur, I exhale and say to myself, that's my daughter. This is the right time to let you know why I call you Little Grandma. The reason is because you have an old soul. You are talented and wise beyond your years. And for some reason, you just look like a little grandma. In closing, I just want to say how proud of you I am. Jen and your mother and even Delilah are very proud as well. We love you, and I promise to have some sort of celebration of our own soon. Jen and I will bake you a cake. Well, Jen will bake the cake. Love, Dad and Jen. Here's a hug for me.
Perfect. Stay right here. Stay right here. So I'm going to have Delilah come back and join your family. In deference to your dad, you've been looking at your sister with pride this whole time. I see it. I do. You know what? We won't make kiddush and motzi since we're not going to be eating and drinking here, but just know that we've shared a lot of sweetness, and I hope you use the cookies for nourishment and get some lunch, and we've had a lot of spiritual nourishment, that's for sure. So the next thing I want to do is have Clementine, for the last time, ask everyone to...
Please rise.
It's a trick question. It is. So, Rabbi Susan, you want to join us? You can bring Grandma Magic. Come on. Come on. There you go. So the way we always conclude our services, as far back as when we started out in the church across the street. Many of you were there. This lovely tradition of putting our arms over each other during COVID, however you feel safe, connecting over each other, around each other. Around this family and Clementine, our newest bat mitzvah. We've got many more to come. I see Cindy here, and Sophie's is the next bat mitzvah, I'm pretty sure, right? 2 weeks? 2 weeks for Sophie, and lots more to come in this spring and into the early summer. So Bahira, this blessing is flowing through you to all of us. Words from the same Torah you chanted from so beautifully, words of peace and love, so that we can leave this place filled with goodness. Here we go. Yivarechecha Adonai v'yishmerecha. May God bless you and keep you always. Ya'er Adonai panav elecha v'chuneka.
And may that light, that Bahira, that illumination continue to inspire us to be kind and show grace to each other.
Yisa Adonai panav elecha v'yasem lecha shalom. And let there be peace, let there be shalom, let there be justice, real, equal justice throughout the land. And let it start right now on this Shabbat of Clementine's bat mitzvah. Go in peace, go in love, and let us say amen. And Shabbat shalom, and mazel tov to Clementine.
Sieben Tag, Mazel Tov, Mazel Tov, Sieben Tag, Sieben Tag, Mazel Tov, Mazel Tov, Sieben Tag, Sieben Tag, Mazel Tov, Mazel Tov, Sieben Tag,